actually turned round the faith that the country has in the judiciary, specifically in its capacity to resolve any electoral disputes that may arise. So it was necessary to put that in place, and that has been put in place. Now, the other, a little removed from that, but also important in terms of the electoral environment, because I think many of us will agree that the election results in 2007 and the lack of faith by a large number of Kenyans in the judiciary as an independent and trustworthy arbiter of disputes, that scenario having ignited the problem post the election, then there's another national malady that came into play and made the problem even greater than it was. And that is the perennial question of land and the need for land reforms. And therefore, that's another area that the framers of the Constitution addressed in what I personally consider to be in a very focused and courageous manner, and with the intention of getting to the root of this perennial problem, and therefore removing, because here we are talking about, we're talking in the context of elections, removing the role that that plays, yeah, in terms of sensitivities in an election environment. Again, the laws required and contemplated in the 5th schedule of the Constitution that relate to land were put in place in good time. But again, even as I stand before you here, again, we have not, unfortunately, we have not completed that process as anticipated in terms of the reform of the land issues as contemplated by the Constitution, and most of greatest concern as far as that is concerned, we still do not have, unless it was done in the last couple of hours without my knowledge, we do not have the National Land Commission in place. It's a sad state of affairs, but it is something that as CIC we shall be specifically addressing early next week. But it's important to understand it because we put in place the laws, and the laws have a bearing, as everybody acknowledges, the laws have a bearing in the context of electoral issues, but we do not have them in place as they ought to be. As an aside, let me just note that we live in a very interesting country. We live a few days ago, about a week ago, there seems to be a raging debate of should we or should we not discuss land issues. There was suggestion by various government agencies that land is a sensitive issue, and therefore we should remove it from the subject matter of an electoral campaign. Some of those who took that view went as far as stating, almost in so many words, that of necessity, land, when you discuss land, of necessity, it constitutes hate speech. An argument that I found because like I argued at the time, and it is still my view, when you're talking about what can incite people and what can constitute hate speech, it really does depend on where you are. And I kept asking people, if you went to the Pokot-Turkana border and you ask them, what is more likely to incite you? Is it the question of land or is it the question of security? I'm sure all of us will know what the answer will be. So it's not land of itself as land which incites. It's not discussion of land which constitutes hate speech. It's how we do it, yeah, and the context in which campaigns are carried out. But the point I was making, and what I find ironic, is that government agencies are telling us do not talk about land, and yet land as an important pillar of reform in the Constitution, and what the Constitution requires, which includes the putting in place of the National Land Commission, that has not been done, and you know, we seem not to be giving it the seriousness that is due to it. But again, that is another subject which we can discuss another day. I will certainly be discussing it on Monday, unless the commission will have been gazetted by then. So when we are talking about the March to March 4th general elections, ladies and gentlemen, I am putting in context where we are at as we march towards there, and the preparation that we have as a nation as we move towards March 4th. Now, March 4th itself, of course, and the outcome of March 4th and its significance to us as a country as we go forward is to a very large extent going to depend on how the body that is charged by the Constitution to carry out the elections, how they carry that out, and how we the people conduct ourselves insofar as that election is concerned. And I'm happy that I am sharing this forum with the Deputy CEO from the IEBC, and I'm sure he will be able to speak in more greater detail as regards the preparedness, the technical preparedness, and the management of that date, the process leading up to that date of March 4th, and the whole issue of the election. I think the only thing I would want to say is that for us as a country to have a free, fair, credible, and democratic election, much as the IEBC has a very specific constitutional mandate to discharge, I think we must remember that we, the people, in our various categories, whether we are talking as voters, whether we are talking as members of political parties or candidates, all of us need to do our bit to ensure that that process is successful. As I say, I think we will be able to hear more on that particular process from IEBC. So let me fast forward to 4th of March itself. We have an election of 4th of March. Now, in an ideal situation, of course, the election will be held on the 4th of March, and we will get all point I want to make as far as the actual process of election is concerned. As a country, we must be prepared for the process, the whole hog. And this requires three things in my view. First of all, that the election itself, its integrity is above reproach. Secondly, that if there are legitimate issues that need to be arbitrated upon, that they will be so arbitrated upon speedily and in a fair manner, as required by law, and that the country, if the need arises, that the country is ready for, in every sense, including psychologically, to have another round of elections. I was in some forum, I remember the forum, in some forum where I was telling the Minister for Finance, because he had said that he hopes Kenyans will make a decision in the first round so that the exchequer can be saved 6 billion shillings. And I said to him, Mr. Minister, I disagree with you, because the election of a president is so important to the people of Kenya that of necessity the cost of it must be secondary. So that to put that kind of pressure on the people that if you don't, that you must make this decision so that we can save 6 point whatever it is billion shillings. I think is unfair and unnecessary, and I'm sure IEBC would be happy to finalize it in the first round. But I want to believe that they would put as much care into ensuring the success of a runoff, if there is one, as there is in the first round of the election. So the challenge lies with us as the people in terms of the importance of the runoff. Now, that's what I will say insofar as the 4th of March as part of the electoral process is concerned, as an election, so to speak, is concerned. I want to, in the next couple of minutes, so that I can end my remarks, I want to make a few comments on the 4th of March as the point at which the Constitution moves into its second phase. And I want to begin by making a comment that I made yesterday in Naivasha when I was speaking at a conference organized by the Transition Authority for the gubernatorial candidates. And I said this: in my view, there are two momentous questions that we as a country need to address in the context of the 4th of March. One of them is what we have been talking about in the last almost 20 or so minutes, and that is the question of, can we deliver to ourselves? And I use those words advisedly because, like I said, it's not just about IEBC. Can we deliver to ourselves a free, fair, credible, and democratic election? That's the first thing. Now, if